Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Welcome to it. Great to have you in on Monday. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. We are ready for some football. Will we get a vote in the next lifetime for you and I? Don't know. Don't know today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday. You know what? We're just all hanging on by the hair of our chinny chin chin with what is next for Big Ten football. Same song, second verse, and it's not one of your favorites on your phone that you like to play. We can talk about what may happen moving forward. Couple of hours to do that. Join us and do so at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, Chris Schmidt, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal, and email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Coming up, Greg Smith, Recruiting Recon with Mr. Greg. Get his take on, I want to talk a lot about James Carney, super talented kid out of Norris, got the Iowa tight end offer recently. Where's that leave him? Some thoughts on where Nebraska goes to ramp up the 2021 class. Kind of get Greg's reading here on Big Ten football as well moving forward. Charlie McBride, Mr. Blackshirt, is in 1 hour. And Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, the More To It podcast. And, of course, with Big Red Wrap-Up, we'll get Jay's take on the world of football, NFL, and, where Nebraska stands. So how did you spend your weekend? Were you glued to the TV on Saturday for college football? I loved watching college football. I was surprised at what I saw from the Big 12 as they got beat up, robbed, and then beat up and robbed again. Not a good opening for the Big 12, but at least I had football on. I really loved watching the NFL on Sunday. I've always been an NFL guy, but I'm diehard college. So it was cool to see the NFL doing their thing, and I was cranked up on, what Joe Burrow's going to do. Tough one for him. We'll get further into that. It was all over Tampa and New Orleans, and was interested to see what Cam Newton would do in his debut. But I'm not going to lie. As much as I was watching college football on Saturday, I was keeping one eye on the Twitter machine and just keeping my ears open with how did things go? What is the next step? And I tell you, the reality is this. The question is still not answered. Will there be a fall season of football? And we knew, Elijah, this thing was going to be a two-step process, and things are still pending. You had the medical committee make their presentation Saturday. We talked a little bit about that was going to happen with the weekend edition of Hail Varsity Radio. So the presentation from the medical folks went well, and it was a three-step pitch, all right? Here's what we got medically. Here's the rapid testing. Here's what we can do to nail the topic of contact tracing with COVID and student athletes. Here's the medical information. This is what's presented by the head athletic trainer with Ohio State. And then you need to get into TV and scheduling. Here's where we can go. Here's what we can achieve medically as a conference with this new technology and the ability for rapid testing. Do you like that? Good. So assuming this meets your questions and concerns, let's move into scheduling. Here's what we're proposing for October 17th. Let's get a 9-game season in. Let's ram it through. And let's get a Big Ten championship game so we can have considerations for the college football playoff. Let's do that. Here's a schedule we can present that's already been thought out. Thank you, Barry Alvarez. Now let's talk TV, because that's going to pay everyone's bills. That's going to keep Minnesota from cutting programs further. That's going to keep Iowa from cutting programs further. That'll keep, name somebody in the Big Ten that's not hurting financially. You can't. That will keep kids who have busted their butt and want to compete at the Division I level for some non-revenue generating sports that are necessary and important alive. This will feed the rest of your athletic department. Let's talk TV scheduling. All that was laid out. And you had the first round, the first pitch, well received, and now it is up to a vote. The vote to play fall. Will that happen? Yahoo Sports reporting it could be within the next 72 hours. What needs to happen in that vote? 9 out of the 14 need to say yes. 6 need to flip from no to yes. When does that vote take place? It was reported yesterday that the vote wasn't going to happen. You need time to digest all of this. The folks that heard the initial round of TV, medical, scheduling, we're going to take it to the other Council of Presidents and Chancellors. Do you feel better today, or have you kind of swayed? And that's okay if you've swayed, because it felt great Saturday. And then we're trying to decipher. You have Rebecca Blank from Wisconsin. She's the chancellor there. She, in a conference call, communicated with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's Jeff Proitrikis that, look, it's, and you can read into his statement from her. It's going to be kind of an all-for-one thing. So was she talking about the vote that needs to happen? It's either got to be 9 yes, or if you get a 11-3, God forbid, then no, you don't play. But this is her quote with Proitrikis. I will say we're all going to move together in the Big Ten. We're all going to play or not if we possibly can. This isn't going to be a school-by-school thing. And where are you at? Are you over unity? I think unity's phenomenal. I think unity's important. I wish the country was unified. I don't really care if the Big Ten's unified anymore, because it's not. This is broken. It's not going to go back to being okay. What happened on August 11th will stay burned into the minds of people in Nebraska, in Columbus, in Iowa City, in State College. It'll stay burned into the minds of every football fan out there, every supporter of all these programs out there. And they'll remember 11-3. First off, James Franklin's going to remember that Penn State voted no. If I'm Barry Alvarez, I'm going to remember that my boss voted no.
If I'm Jim Harbaugh and I get an NFL offer this next offseason.
I have 1 year left on my contract and I'm gone anyway. I feel betrayed if I'm Jim Harbaugh and I'm out. I mean, it's really simple. You can fix this by reversing course and say, yeah, let's try and play. It's okay to say, I'm sorry, oops, I made a mistake. Kevin Warren and presidents and chancellors, not named Nebraska, Iowa, or Ohio State. It's okay to have new medical information, examine that, be comfortable with it. You're not going to get a unanimous vote here. So when it comes to Rebecca Blank saying, it will either be all for one for all, this thing's broken. They're not unified. You've got major infighting. You've got the academics and athletics playing tug of war. And if it means not having a season because you can't get 6 to flip and shutting down the season a second time or postponing, I can't take that. And I don't think the coaches can take that. And I sure as hell know the players can't take that. You're going to have a revolution at some point. That could come with coaches leaving for the NFL or other jobs. You're going to have a mass exodus of your conference of players. You've already seen 2 studs from Ohio State decide to opt out because they're tired of waiting. This will crush and destroy the league. And I know that there's folks out there that are on the side of caution, concern, and safety. And I'm not spitting on you at all. I'm not. I listen to that. I hear that. It's real. It's absolutely real. But if I've got medical experts that have rapid testing availability and they're good, I'm gonna roll with it and say let's try. I think what's kind of going on here too, as to okay, it's been 24 hours, why no vote yet? I honestly think that you have the Big Ten still just hanging on to make sure the water's safe. If we're going to reverse course, go against our initial decision, and potentially be laughed at for it, and I'm not going to laugh at them. If they reverse course, I'm going to slap them on the back and say, thanks for fixing the error of your way. They're waiting to see what's Tuesday look like in the Big 12. What's Tuesday look like with Clemson, who traveled to Wake Forest? What's Syracuse looking like as they traveled down and played North Carolina? What's the NFL look like after a weekend of games and you've got a doubleheader tonight with Elijah's Denver Donkeys? I think they're waiting just a half count longer to make sure there's no massive outbreak with the Big 12 or the ACC. And I think they're watching the ACC pretty closely because of all their esteemed academic institutions. Notre Dame played football this weekend. How did it go against Duke? Are the kids okay? Great. And I think that's why we probably don't. They're mulling over the information. They're talking to one another off the record, and they're probably trying to come to a consensus.
Yeah, what worries me about the time this is taking just to get to a vote is what is going on behind the scenes. Are there not enough teams yet to make that vote where you're going to get the yes vote that all the fans, all the coaches want? And you don't want to hold that vote and have all this encouragement, and then the vote comes and you shoot it down again, because that's worst case scenario. So is the wait?
It's possible.
I know.
I hate saying that. God, I hate saying that.
Is that why we're waiting for a vote? Are there a couple more that still need to be flipped?
Well, you're not going to move forward if you don't have the 9. Right? I mean, you're waiting till you get what you need, first of all. You've got the World Herald reporting and text messages, and Sammy McEwen's done a great job with this, and give him a shout out. You're waiting, and you've got silence. So things are probably moving behind the scenes. And you're just hopefully going to get those 9 you need. So let's talk Dan Patrick for a second. And Dan Patrick, listen, I don't think he is throwing hand grenades. I don't think he's working for anybody. Okay, I don't think Dan Patrick's got a source or two, but he's not a college football guy. He doesn't hate it, but he doesn't spend a lot of time on college football. That's not what he's done throughout his career. But he has somebody within the Big Ten that is throwing him information. And their information has not been 100% accurate. That's okay, because quite honestly, it's been, we're jumping from one foot to the next. Okay? That's just how it's been. You do have solid information off a conference call here from Rebecca Blank, chancellor for Wisconsin. You've got Tom Dienhart. You've got Teddy Greenstein. You have other media members that no doubt their contact is a head coach. You have other media members, their contact is a league commissioner or somebody within the chancellor or president's offices at different universities, be it Michigan or Northwestern. I mean, you look at the national media members, that they're either Michigan or Northwestern. Okay, I mean, they're super talented journalism schools, and they're national media members. So it's what message are you delivering for somebody? And it's not attempted to be slanted in some instances, or it's absolutely in defense in the point of view of the other side of things. So you've got to sift through all of that. Patrick thought, per his source, and I'm good with this, back to the unity point of things, it would say more to me about league unity permitting those that want to play football to go play football. If Maryland and Rutgers hold this up. If they can't play ball, if they don't feel if it's safe to play football, or they're just not going to be ready, or they're going to suck, whatever their reason, that's fine. You can opt out. Do you want no money, or do you want some money into your coffers? And you're going to get no money if you don't let the rest of the league move forward and play. So give me a 9-14 vote to play. And if things come up, or you've got a COVID scare at Piscataway, or you've got a COVID scare at Spartyland, then that's what you have. But do not cut the knees out of the other schools that can play. Wisconsin's paused. Barry Alvarez says we can go in 3 weeks. Michigan's ready to go. Nebraska's ready to go. Iowa, they'll be ready to rock. Ohio State is begging for a chance to go win a national championship. And you can't tell me that it's fair. Fair went out the window a long time ago. It's not fair for Rutgers and Maryland to make the call on Ohio State's future, specifically with that part of the country. Greg Smith's coming up. We'll hit some recruiting. Your thoughts coming up also at 466-3776.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio listen?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Thanks for spending time. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbo. We say hi to Greg Smith, recruiting insider, HailVarsity.com and magazine. And Greg, I wish you would have rolled by for some of them beef ribs, man. The short ribs Saturday while college football was on. Fantastically glorious. I just showed up and poured a drink. I mean, Uncle Andy did all the work, and he needs his own food truck, brother.
I mean, is there anything better than, hey, I just showed up and poured a drink to short ribs? I mean, you're kind of living the life over there.
Well, we ran out and he made me go home, so it was okay.
Yeah, well, that'll happen.
I know. Hey, I want to get your take on your read on things here. I want Greg Smith's tea leaf reading right now on Hail Varsity Radio. Where do you think we sit with return to play here? I know things are being considered.
I feel like the momentum right now is that we will return to play and return to play in October. But I am very nervous to make any bold proclamations given how this whole thing has gone. And at every turn, it kind of feels like what you kind of think the logical thing that would happen doesn't happen. So, for example, we knew yesterday that they were meeting, right? Mm-hmm. Like we knew they were going to have this whole big meeting. But then somehow we go through all of those presentations for actually the whole weekend, and we don't vote that day. We let that go another day into Monday, and now, I mean, I guess technically they could release this sometime, on a Monday, like afternoon, evening news dump, but that would be weird. So we probably go another day. It's just odd that you let this kind of drag out. And I would wonder what they're waiting for, but at the same time, it makes a little bit of sense, again, hopefully with logic, that the thing that they're kind of getting in a row is that you don't want to just say, hey, we're returning to play, say, October 17th. You also want to then release schedules and protocols along with that, which would be understandable, right? Except for the Big Ten has not kind of earned that benefit of the doubt given what's all transpired.
So let's play hypothetical return to play vote. Indiana, yay or nay?
Yay.
Maryland?
Nay.
Michigan?
Yay.
So that means Sparty's a yay, right?
Right.
Ohio State's a yes. Penn State?
Yes.
Rutgers?
No.
Okay, so we are in the East Division. We are 5-2. Illinois?
Yes.
Iowa, yes.
Yep.
Minnesota?
I think they come around and say yes.
Okay. Huskers, yes. Purdue?
Yes.
Okay. Northwestern?
Yes.
Whiskey?
Yes, even though they got an asterisk because they're on pause right now.
So we are right now. We're at 12-2. Take
Yeah,
that.
I think you get a flip, and then that's the thing. The two, and it's so odd that I think the two right now that probably need the most convincing, just kind of reading through everything, would be Maryland and Rutgers. They also have vastly different kind of situations with COVID than, say, Nebraska does right now, so you kind of understand that. But it would just be kind of weird if those were the two schools that end up holding everything up.
I think Michigan's president's a problem. He's a medical dude, right? So
Yeah, but I wonder, though, if that ends up being a situation where you've got so much going on campus that you just kind of have to relent on that. And it's just going to look so crazy that if Ohio State is pushing so hard to play and end up playing, but Michigan doesn't, like, it's just going to be odd. Like, I just feel like you're going to have to bite the bullet on that one.
There'll be a major revolt. Like, Ogre and Bluto will storm his office if Buckeye's playing and Harbaugh's sitting there with his khakis just, calling NFL teams. Let's dive into some recruiting, and really impressive offer came the way of James Carney, a great kid and phenomenal talent with Norris, the tight end. Greg, our dude got an Iowa offer, and he got an Iowa tight end offer. Ding, ding, ding. That's pretty impressive. What does this mean for Carney and the Nebraska timeline, in your opinion?
I think it puts Nebraska firmly on the clock. I mean, anytime. Okay, so Carney was really looking for that Power 5 offer, right? Like, we saw that he subsequently decommitted from Miami of Ohio, but I think that part of the thinking is I've got one Power 5 offer, either more are coming, and maybe I get something else that I like a little bit more than Iowa, or I can pick Iowa, who has a fantastic resume with tight ends, right? So I think that he's in a good spot there, but I think it puts Nebraska on the clock to make a decision. But the problem, it kind of has been the same problem all along for Nebraska, and that's trying to make the numbers work. It's not as much anymore that they don't have necessarily spots in the class, so they still have to move some stuff around. Do you want to take 3 tight ends in a year where you also feel really good about tight ends in the 2022 group as well? And if you take a third, will that also kind of impact what some of those guys are thinking about you, because you just took 3 in a single class? So there's a lot to consider there. But his rise has been really fantastic to see unfold just for him personally. And to his credit, this was not a consideration this time last year, because he's turned himself into a fantastic Division I Power 5 player for sure.
Greg, with this Iowa offer and their history with tight ends, you got to think Iowa's now in the driver's seat. But just in terms of optics, numbers aside with Nebraska and their tight ends they have now, if a local kid like Carney goes to Iowa, how bad a look is that for Nebraska?
Oh, it's a bad look. Like, you never want to have that, especially given, how Scott Frost and the staff has really talked about keeping those guys home. Scott Frost, I want to say in a very early press conference, said something to the effect of, there's too many good players from the state of Nebraska that are playing elsewhere. We want to keep them home. I mean, this would be an example of that, even though the circumstances are just a little bit strange, but it's not quite as big as a sting as, say, Iowa losing an in-state guy, Thomas Fedoni, after they've been a tight end factory to Nebraska. So it's kind of an interesting thing when you kind of zoom out and look at it big picture as well.
Greg, thoughts on where Nebraska's at? Numbers about, 4 or 5 spots left, and what's the recon tell you from the weekend here when it comes to Nebraska? Fair to say the rest of these spots pretty much leaning towards defense?
Yeah, I would say that. I'd say you're looking at 4 to 6 spots left, and man, maybe all of them end up being on defense. I still think that they end up trying to land two defensive linemen in this class. And I know I've got just a ton of questions about what's going on with defensive line recruiting, because in part they have so many young defensive linemen on the roster already. You've got to see what's going on with them. I just don't think the numbers needs are there for that, even though you haven't seen quite the production on the defensive line that you'd like to see so far. I think they still would like to take at least one more linebacker, particularly on the outside. Though I think they're still trying to figure out who that linebacker will be. And then I still think one more defensive back that has some versatility to either play cornerback or safety like Travis Fisher likes.
Timeline.
That'll be kind of a wild card.
No, that's fine. Timeline on an outside backer or defensive lineman. I know Buckley's been kind of on the radar. And you got the kid out of, help me out here, the Savannah?
Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada. So where are they at in their recruitment, to your understanding?
So Buckley wants to make it, I think he's announcing October 14th. Sabea is, I don't think he has a date, but he says that his recruitment is shut down. So that really means at any time. I know that he told me that he was thinking originally, I feel like it's the Under Armour game that he wanted to make the announcement at, but in these times and what's been happening with recruiting, I'd be surprised if it goes all the way there when he needs to make an official public declaration. So we'll see there. So I think sooner rather than later, within the next month or so, you'll see at least one of those defensive linemen come off the board.
I wanted to ask you about Wisconsin real quick. And Wisconsin's always been pretty high on development. They've been fantastic. It's the Nebraska blueprint where you get a kid you think can be pretty good. You project correctly the size and strength and speed and agility. And after toiling away for 3 years, you've got a couple of years as a redshirt to really, kind of just ball out for your junior and senior season. But Wisconsin's gotten some pretty high-level guys. It wasn't that long ago they got a 5-star offensive lineman, and they have, I don't want to sound negatory towards them, but they've really upped their game with the talent profile, haven't they, the last recruiting cycle?
Yeah, I think that Wisconsin is a team to me that if you're any other team around the league, particularly in the West, you don't really want to see them start to recruit at a higher level. Because if you think about the way that Nebraska has recruited, at least on paper, over the last 8 to 10 years, which has been very good. We've talked about them out recruiting the West. If Wisconsin does that, just matches what Nebraska has been doing, but they have been better historically at identifying those kids and definitely better than Nebraska recently at developing them, then that's a formula they can win a whole lot of games with, considering that they're already winning close to double digits every year as is. They're a really dangerous team if they continue to up that profile. And the thing is, they'll just continue doing it with the types of players that they already were, just higher rated. So you'll get big-time offensive linemen, outside linebackers, and running backs, which is what they're really trending towards doing, and it fits exactly how they play.
I mean, they've always had the lines of scrimmage kind of nailed down. But think about this: to close that gap on Ohio State, they're within 10 to 20 every time they step on the field with Ohio State. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's not. But if they get more air quote Ohio State type skill guys, right, to go along with their lines of scrimmage, that's how you kind of narrow that gap. And maybe it's Wisconsin winning a Big Ten versus just being in the West, the championship circle, and then getting either destroyed or just not having enough oomph, right, in the Big Ten championship game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And one of probably the most important part of this is they figure out quarterback, right? So if they could ever go against Ohio State in a game in which Ohio State comes in worried about Wisconsin's quarterback, that completely changes things as well, because if you think about opening up running lanes for their running backs with those offensive lines and having that threat, that would be a huge thing for them. That part has just eluded them for years now.
Well, they've always asked the guy to just hand off and don't screw it
right
up and find a tight end on 3rd and 5. But if they get a playmaker, it's a game changer for them. Okay, about 30 seconds. Knee-jerk reaction to your man Mitch and Chicago's comeback. Very Detroit to drop a touchdown in the end zone. But, Greg, they're going all the way, 16-0, aren't they, your Bears?
I feel like they are, right? Like, we kind of have to feel that way after we saw Maserati Mitch make his great comeback yesterday, right? You have to. How else could you feel, right? I feel like he gave me just enough to give me hope, only to pull the football away next week.
Is the jersey on order, yes or no?
No, not yet. He's going to need a whole season before we figure that out with the jersey.
That's code for not ever from Greg. But I like it. Greg Smith, recruiting insider, talking some football. Greg, we'll check in with you soon. Thanks for the update today.
Hey, thanks as always. You guys have a great week.
All right, man. There he is. So we'll dive into some Joe Burrow. What'd you think? Let's overanalyze Joe Burrow next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
20 minutes away, it's Charlie McBride. Mondays with Charlie. We'll get Coach McBride's gut on the pending vote. The Big Ten. Can this mulligan go the right way for the Big Ten? Some NFL thoughts Also, dive into some recruiting with Nebraska. Jay Moore is going to be with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer. He'll be with us at 5:25. Open phones now till 5 and at 5:40. If you want to jump in at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Email Chris at HaleVarsity.com. So, what game were you most interested in the NFL yesterday? Did you find your way to a tavern, socially distanced, pour one, and eat some wings? That would have been great. I put some wings on the grill last night. Caught the second half of the Patriots. Check that. That's a swear jar fine right there. Tampa and New Orleans. We'll hear from Tom Brady next hour. But I was really following Cincinnati and the Chargers, and we're big Zach Taylor fans. We're big Joe Burrow fans, and I know you've got Ethan Carter that's on the Cincy roster, and you've got Stanley that's on the Bengals practice squad. We'll see if he finds his way to a roster spot again this year like he did last year. But you know what? Growing up, Cincinnati had Boomer Esiason, they had Dave Remington, and they were a fun late 80s squad. It was them and Cleveland and Houston in that AFC Central scoring at will on one another, and they were fun, and the fans would throw snowballs at the opposing team, and that was not something I do, nor I'd want my kid to do, but I get it. There's true and pure hatred within those in the division as Pittsburgh kind of found their footing and did what they did, late 90s into the 2000s. So I look at Cincinnati as really an afterthought. They've been laughable. They've been a squad that is not anywhere close to Cleveland, but they have been the other kind of pain where under previous staffs and with the Red Rifle, they would be a playoff team, but they wouldn't get anything done in the postseason. Yusher and Zach Taylor, of course, you know about him in his prowess at Nebraska as a player, but really you saw things kind of get revolutionized under McVay and the Rams, and he gets that quarterback coach jump to now you're the man in Cincinnati. Tough year, 2-14 a season ago, but you were able to get Joe Burrow in the first pick. So what did you expect from Burrow in game one, in week one? And I don't want to overreact or knee-jerk too much, but let's have some fun with it on Monday. We're not going to get him ready for Canton yet. But I will say that Joe Burrow's a guy that is super humble. Joe Burrow's a guy that's worked his butt off for everything. Joe Burrow's a guy that's super real and able to look himself in the mirror. And he gave himself a D yesterday. He was asked after the game, what would you give yourself here? What grade would you give yourself in your first NFL start? He's like, dude, it's a D. And I think that was a little uber critical. But that is Joe Burrow. Here's his first touchdown. Kevin Harlan with the call. And you had some ups and downs yesterday and almost a win for a Husker legacy in Joe Burrow. And, of course, Zach Taylor almost getting off to that 1-0 start.
Here comes the quarterback, Burrow, looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown! What a skipper! Called his own number and streaks for 23 for a touchdown for Cincinnati.
So it's funny to see the viral reaction as you had the look of pain and what the hell on Joe Burrow's face when the kicker missed the tying field goal to make it 16 apiece and hopefully head for overtime. You kind of got hosed. Technically, it was pass interference on the offense with A.J. Green. But let's be straight. We've seen a lot worse offensive pass interference, either not. And that was kind of prevalent in the league. There were 2 or 3 offensive pass interferences yesterday that negated touchdowns. But the reality is this to me with Joe Burrow. No preseason. You do stupid virtual workouts. You get some throwing in, but really not a training camp. And you're in your home state. You've got cardboard cutouts of your mom, your dad, and your girlfriend somewhere at Bengals Stadium. So it wasn't a air quote normal start in a non-normal year, but you're playing in the NFL and you're playing L.A., playing the Chargers that have a really, really good secondary, and you've got Bosa and another dude off the edge. San Diego's defense will keep them, swear jar again, the Chargers defense will keep them in every game all season long. They're that good. And Burrow was able to spread it around, put a drive together, got him in position for the win. They got screwed on that, still put him in position to force overtime. That's after a fourth quarter turnover, all right? That's after throwing a pick. And the guy just kept moving on to the next. You got to love his mentality. You got to love his toughness. And all the times he got knocked down from wanting to come to Nebraska to, all right, you can't win the job at Ohio State, to let's go down to the bayou and eat some crawfish. And wow, you only had one season as a starter. But he comes from such a great family with his dad and his brothers that they've kind of built him for this as the youngest, where he's got to be tough. He's got to have thick skin. And I think this is a great sign for Cincinnati. Will they be a playoff team? Probably not. Will they be in every ball game? I don't know. But I feel good about what they've got. And we'll see where it takes them the rest of the year. But I was encouraged by week one with Joe Burrow. He does not need to change his sheets after yesterday's performance.
I mean, yeah, let's be honest. He did enough to win that game. The Chargers should have lost. The Bengals should have won. And that was in spite of some bad pass blocking from the Bengals. Joe Burrow was not getting terrorized back there, but he was getting pressure in his face, and he still had enough to lead a game-winning drive.
The last time Burrow got pressure in his face that much was probably as, scout team guy at Ohio State.
Well, the funniest tweet I saw yesterday was, now we know what would have happened if Joe Burrow would have come to Nebraska, because barely did enough to win and then missed the field goal. And
man, who sent that?
I don't even know.
Iowa fan?
Nebraska fan, Nebraska student. Can't remember who it was, and I wouldn't expose them like that here anyway.
It's off the top rope.
But it's pretty funny with the missed field goal right at the end, and I could just imagine that last year. But all that aside, Joe Burrow impressed me with his performance for a rookie quarterback in week one. Knowing the circumstances, he deserved that win yesterday.
The team did, and
the kicker did not after missing.
You got Randy Bullock missing the 31-yarder,
and then apparently getting hurt.
Well,
do we believe that? What do you think is more hurt, his leg or his pride?
Oh, complete pride call. But if you're going to shank one that badly right, like you're blindfolded and your cigarette just ran out, you better limp off the field.
Yeah, you better blame that hamstring.
You better say the evil turf monster of Bengals Stadium's the one who messed with you here. But, I mean, Burrow wasn't great, but he was good late. And that is something you really hope to coach up, but you pray you don't have to. If you've got that innate ability to stay strong and make something happen, that's huge. So, yeah, I will try to be catching every Cincinnati game this year for the first time since the Esiason era. We'll wind down hour one. Coach McBride's on the way. Jay Moore's checking in. Hail Varsity continues.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time in 1 hour, we will get Elijah Herbal's predictions, not only season, but tonight on his Denver Donkeys. You're wearing the 98 or 97 Western Division sweatshirt.
96.
That's right. We know what happened in 96.
Yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars.
You got Brunel, brother. Reminder about moving in 2020. Let's tell you about your friends at West Blue Realty, and they're there to take your phone call if you're moving in 2020. They specialize, West Blue Realty does, in residential home sales in Lincoln and surrounding communities. And you mentioned Hail Varsity, and West Blue Realty can provide you up to $1,000 on the closing of your next home purchase. Tom Luby is there to help. Give Tom a shout at 402-540-3768. Or Kelly Hofschneider, Kelly's awesome, can help out as well at 402-202-2312. It pays to work with West Blue Realty. Now, do you have agricultural land? Do you have some ag land you're looking to move? They can help do that. They service a large area in the state of Nebraska, big radius, and when it comes to ag land, they've got auctioneers that can handle anything from auctions to sealed bids to general land listings. They've sold land in Odo and Seward and Lancaster County. They can help do that if you're looking to move some of your agricultural land. in 2020. WestBlueRealty.com, 1120 K Street Suite 200. So that's what you do. That's what you do with West Blue Realty. No, it was a good time to just watch football yesterday. Junior had some baseball going on in Omaha the other day. So it was just a good weekend of weather after a poor weekend or week of kind of Oregon-type cloudy, wet, damp stuff. So
yeah, I got a chance to go out and go play some basketball yesterday with some friends.
Yeah?
That was a good time. My Nuggets came back.
Yeah.
Forced to Game 7.
How you feeling about that?
About Game 6. I feel great about Game 6. Awesome performance. Game
You feel
7,
good about 7?
I am nervous, but I think the momentum is on the Nuggets side. But I am still absolutely terrified. But other than that.
When do they tip? Tonight at?
Tomorrow night at
Tomorrow night.
8, I want to say. Tomorrow night at 8.
Okay. Well, you may be rolling and smiling or dejected. You're not. You think Kawhi and company will show up?
Probably.
I mean, they'll be.
Let's not lie to ourselves.
They blew a 16-point lead. They're not gonna.
Well, they blew a 15-point lead 2 games back. They blew a 16-point lead this time. Now you get to Game 7, and in those past 2 games, the Clippers, it's not as much on the line. Whenever you already have, it's 1 game to go. You can blow a lead and go, okay, we'll come back and get them next game. You do it again, then it's okay, we'll come back and get them next game. So I think they're probably still confident. They're going to show up.
Are they focused enough to win a title? I mean, they've got Kawhi who's won 3, but the rest of the dudes there, I mean, I don't remember real often, and this isn't NBA Finals, this isn't Golden State, this isn't Cleveland, this isn't Miami. I mean, think of some of the teams that have won multiple championships. In LA, the Clippers are trying for their first, but do they just get too bored? And that's my question. How do you not have that killer instinct to go stomp out your opponent?
I just think their one motivation coming back to the bubble was we're going to beat the Lakers. Everyone's talking about the Lakers. I think their motivation was we're going to beat the Lakers, and they got to within 1 game of playing the Lakers, and they just started overlooking the Nuggets.
Yeah.
I think Clippers-Lakers would be an awesome series. I think Nuggets-Lakers would be an awesome series. Either way, whoever wins it, it's going to be a fun series.
Oh, it'll be good.
But I think the problem with the Clippers is that they built themselves to beat the Lakers. That's the one goal they've had all season. If they make it to the finals, they've already beaten the Lakers. I don't know if they have enough firepower to stay with. I mean, Boston and the Heat both look awesome in the East.
Yeah, they're playing well. That's a sweet Eastern Conference final.
And the Western Conference final is going to be awesome either way. Either way,
Yeah,
Nuggets or Clippers.
I selectively pick my times to talk NBA, but we're getting close to that. Coach McBride's on the way. We'll see what he had to eat this weekend, what he fired up on the grill. His thoughts on football, the first weekend of it, Hour 2 on the way with Hail Varsity.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Into Hour 2 at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We're still waiting on the Big Ten decision, the mulligan. Elijah Herbal's in on a Monday. Chris Schmidt, thanks for spending time.
They tend to like their 5 p.m. news drops, and since we're now past the 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting. I'm not saying a vote won't happen today or maybe won't be going on. I just don't think we're going to get an answer in the hour. Well, he's near the Big Ten offices. Maybe we'll just let Coach McBride make the decision. We say hi to Charlie McBride, Mondays with Charlie. Coach, how was the weekend?
Good. Yeah, I had to watch the wrong games, but
I bet.
I just watched college football. I don't know about that other stuff. I got work to do.
No, I know. NFL was pretty good for we're just missing football, but we'll start. What football did you watch Saturday? Who did you watch?
Oh, let's see. Name one. I'll tell
Did
you.
Did you watch Kansas State or Iowa State?
No, I
or
didn't. I didn't.
Kansas?
I watched Iowa State some, and I was kind of switching it back and forth, and I was watching.
Notre Dame?
I watched Notre Dame probably more than the most of them.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, but that's close around here, and so you need to know an answer if somebody asks you something. But if Notre Dame, what I saw was I thought they might be a little bit better, but I don't know. I just couldn't. You can't put the first game. You can never put a quarter in the machine to see if it runs.
Oh, I know. I bet. Is there a game or a first game that you were worried about?
All of them.
Well, but I'm saying after you guys won, but maybe you didn't win by or look as good as you wanted.
When we played Central Florida, of course.
Okay.
That year we were actually behind, I think, at halftime.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of games, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how you there's no nothing to mentally prepare for as far as a rivalry, not necessarily a rivalry, but somebody you've played before, and know what they're made of and everything, and that's the hard thing, I think, for the players, and then you don't know what they do, and so your defense you're not able to really zero in on any kind of tendencies at all. It's all guessing game kind of. You have to make your game plan as the game goes on almost, and I think that's true with everybody. I mean, there are changes made over the year, and they could be the kind of changes, offensively and defensively. It doesn't have to be just one side of the ball. Mm. So that goes on all over the place, and that's why I think sometimes I noticed that, I was just happened to watching a highlight last night or something, and I saw Brady throw an interception. Well, the receiver stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally, messed up because the receiver, I think, didn't know exactly where he was supposed to be, and threw, and of course, an interception's an interception. And a lot of these quarterbacks get, blamed for interceptions when it's a tip, when it's a ball went through the guy's hands or whatever it could be, and so. But the first game usually is the one you really like to see what kind of, how you can move the ball a little bit and how you play defense a little bit and what's the tempo of your players. Sometimes you say, well, we're going to have a fast tempo. And you get out there and it doesn't work like you think it should because of the changes in defense. So you want to change the play, and it slows everything down, and the tempo goes in the tank.
Charlie McBride's with us, Mondays with Charlie. Coach, I want to switch gears to the weekend, and you had different presentations occur. You had the Ohio State team medical physician lead the way with the new medical information and testing proposal to one of the subcommittees for the Big Ten. You had Barry Alvarez with scheduling, and you also had the AD for Penn State when it comes to the TV. So you had medicine, you had TV, you had schedule. All was laid out, and that was well received by 6 of the, is it 6 or 8? One of the two. 8 or 6 of the members of this Council for Presidents and Chancellors, right? So they liked what they heard, and they took it to their other brethren here, and we're waiting on a revote. You've had Wisconsin's chancellor on a conference call earlier today say a couple of different things. One, that the president's meeting continues and they're trying to sort through everything. And the thing that I took out of it is it sounds like, yeah, they'll revote, which is good. We haven't gotten a revote yet, but either everybody's going to play or nobody's going to play. Do you like that approach by the Big Ten, or do you think unity in this instance is overrated?
Well, I think that I really think the conference ought to, if you ought to stick with the conference. I think, you'd like to go run somewhere else and do something, but I think in reality you got to pretty much go with what happens. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I have a feeling that there's going to be a change, not in personnel, but a change in their thinking a little bit. Now, whether they have enough votes or anything to go ahead and do it, but I think it looks like, just the fact that they had the meeting, that they did the things, that they brought up some of the medical deals, that they have a plan, to go ahead. But they've got to get, the presidents are like, that's like, there's some that just have their mind made up.
Sure.
You could do whatever you want, and they're not going to change. And that's a shame, because they're not really working with their coaches, I don't think, sometimes. And that doesn't help the coaches at all. I mean, as far as the future, it just messes it all, the whole thing up. But I think that Ohio State and I think and Barry and those are, they're justified people. And, I think you have to listen, because, it's something that's important. I think it's important financially. It's important, all different ways. I mean, TV can pay a few bucks and get some of your other sports some help. And, I know it's not going to be beautiful, but, I think each school is going to have to make their decision on who gets to go to the game or how they're going to do it. Because as I looked at the games this weekend, some places there were hardly anybody in there, and other ones they were packed.
Yeah.
The Southeast Conference looked like a regular zoo. I mean, they were stuffed together, and Georgia and they got beat by who was it? I don't remember, but
Georgia Tech and Florida State.
Georgia Tech, and that game the place was packed. So, that's just the way, it's going to be down there. Some people just are going to go ahead and do it, which, is that right? I don't know. Nobody does. I mean, you have to do it to find out, really what's going on. And, and there's different parts of the country, I think, and then there's different testings, and I think some of the testing is we've already found out in baseball and the NFL that there's been some real, duck work done. I mean, there's been some, testing that probably isn't real good and has come out, positive, and it's really not. And so I don't think I think the Big Ten will be, if they make a decision, it'll be because they know what they're doing. I mean, it won't just be because it's out the back door. I mean, they'll investigate it, and that's why you're not getting an answer right away, because they want to just be sure they're doing what is the right thing. And, I think playing is the right thing. If you have to stop it, you stop it. If it gets to a point where it wasn't right, then stop it. I mean, if that's what has to be done. But you can always stop something. You can't, getting it started is the important thing.
Coach, I want to get into that part of it. I mean, Barry Alvarez has said, my team can be ready in 3 weeks. Scott Frost has said the same. Put your coaching hat back on. The challenge is you can have guys stay ready, okay, and that means they're still lifting and they're in good shape, but you've not put the pads on since the Iowa week, okay?
Right.
So take us through just the worries and concerns about getting things up to speed for an October 17th kickoff.
Yeah, the thing is I think I haven't been banged around a little bit and everything. You'd be surprised. I think that has a lot to do with injuries. I think if you haven't been hit, and you just go in a game and you're playing against some guys that are really going to try to put it to you, the hitting can be a little bit different. And sometimes you get hit really blasted. You don't even know you got hit. I mean, it's it's just the way the game is. You get mesmerized into the game, but I would say that you would scrimmage. I think there would be something. If you played 3 weeks, I'm sure you would have some kind of a scrimmage. Before where there'd be enough hitting and some practice work where there would be enough contact. And I look at the NFL practices. I saw a little bit on TV. I mean, these guys are grabbing each other and they're face to face and they're doing stuff. I mean, you talk about separation or no contact or something. I mean, it was like they had more contact in practice than they would in the game.
Okay.
Coach, would you be more worried about guys coming back to fall camp being out of shape, or would you be more worried about the install that's going to have to be done for the offense and the defense? What do you think the biggest concern is going to be for the coaches as they get back into this fall camp?
Well, what happens is when you start out a season like that and you don't have a preseason, your defense usually is ahead of the offense. And that's going to be a key to a lot of it. I mean, I don't know if you're going to see what the real team is for a couple of games, just because of the no spring ball and you got young kids. You don't know. All of a sudden, some young kid shows up, and man, if we had spring ball and know about this guy, we'd have been a different football team. And I think that goes for more than one person. I think it goes for a lot of people. And, you bring in junior college players that have a pretty good background in playing for 2 years, and these guys have a little better chance to make it than just a freshman coming in. Mm-hmm. But the freshman still, may be the best player you got. And, you won't know it until who knows when. And if you have a shortened season, may never know it till next year.
What do you think here? I mean, if you do a last thought here, Coach, go ahead.
Well, you got to get your timing and things like that offensively. That's really so. Repetition and teamwork is going to be probably more so for offense than it will be for fundamental work, and that's a little bit scary at times. You've really got to teach a players stuff and how to play the game to keep from getting hurt. And so, but I think both sides of the ball, you're going to have, especially offensively, the timing, the pass routes, and you saw yesterday. I mean, these guys have had preseason football and they're still, not timed up right, a lot of them, and so forth.
Coach, about 30 seconds. This time next week, are we talking about a season starting off, or are we crying in our beer that there is no season? How do you think the vote goes?
Well, I think it's positive. I really do. I think, they've seen some stuff on TV over the weekend, and they've seen things work, and they've seen, that both. Something that showed me something was both academies playing. I mean, some doctor knows something. I mean, both of those teams played, and I think that was that to me that's kind of important because that's kind of a government-run deal, and they probably had as good a way of doing things as anybody.
Coach, we'll talk to you next week, and we'll get ready for some football, we hope, and thanks for giving us some time today on Hail Varsity.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Coach, you take care.
Thank you. Okay, bye now.
There he is. Good. That's positive. Love that. Coach is pretty real, but he's also optimistic. And love hearing that. And you've got the chancellor from Wisconsin again on this conference call. There's a variety of things that have changed since the August 11th postponement. We'll get Jay Moore's thoughts coming up. Blackshirt Jay on the way with Hail Varsity.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We welcome in Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore, and you see him on Big Red Wrap-Up. You hear him with his podcast, More to It, on HailVarsity.com and different platforms you listen to podcasts, and longtime contributor to Hail Varsity Radio. Jay Bird, good weekend of football. Did you watch and smile?
I watched a little bit. This weekend was kind of the DIY project at the Moore household. We had to put up some more wood fencing and stuff around our more decorative stuff around our front door. Get that project done to kind of match with the back door, privacy fence, backyard privacy fence we put up, and replaced some old wood that got rotten around the garage door from, when snow piles up. And then we did some flooring in the laundry room, and the bathroom's getting all redone down there. So football was watched. It was later in the evening when I was enjoying many cold beverages from all the DIY work to calm me down a little bit. But it was good. It was good whether the fans were there or not, man. Just having football back, NFL, college, it makes it feel somewhat normal, I guess. Somewhat. It's still not quite normal, but it's better enough, and I'll say that at least.
No, that's awesome. Jay Moore is with us at JMoore44 on Twitter, and you know what? Between the weather being pretty much perfect and it was golf course, football, or home improvement. Good on your lovely wife for getting you see, you two are so awesome together because you work well together. My wife would probably have started chucking lawn darts at me and asked me to prove that I can do a fair catch. I mean, she's, we can't do those together because we got to stay in separate rooms, man. It's good.
We're not perfect either. I'm the one that gets super pissed and want to break things and say every cuss word in the book, and she usually calms me down a little bit and tells me to take a break, and she'll kind of look at it from another angle, and especially when you're trying to change out like faucets and showers and stuff. And I'm not the smallest guy in the world, so I'm underneath cabinets and stuff trying to change stuff out. It gets a little messy. Let me say that.
Good patience, man. Good work. Next thing I know, I'm going to be seeing a home improvement show with the Moores. That'd be good.
Yeah, it's something. I could do something like that. We can make that work.
That'd be funny. So, okay, we don't have a vote as of yet. You had a successful pitch this weekend with the Return to Play Committee, and that was medical, that was TV, that was scheduling, and now things are being mulled over, and everything sounded super optimistic Saturday. Sunday, there wasn't going to be a vote. I think we all kind of got our hopes up that there would be a quick turnaround vote. Things are being mulled over. I'm sure the Big Ten's waiting to see if there's any COVID outbreaks between the NFL, the ACC, and the Big 12. All that being said, when you look at what Ohio State's medical staff did, and Barry Alvarez and Penn State's athletic director, they were the key figures in this pitch. Do you feel more optimistic or less optimistic, or I don't know? I mean, where are you as far as October 17th here, Jay? What did this weekend do for your hopes?
Well, I'm extremely optimistic. I know I'm not getting my hopes up like I did back in early August when they had a full schedule release and thinking everything was going to go. We already have 2 games in, as of this last weekend. So I'm not quite there yet. But I mean, the fact that they are listening and they were presented to, and because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Evan Warren did say, this was not going to be addressed again. That's of the cancellation. So, of the fall cancellation. So the fact that they are listening, hearing presentations, and that's a huge step in the right direction. Because I think they, as big as egos and smart people that, are ahead of, sitting in the chancellor's chair and president's chair at these major universities, I think they can realize that they jumped the gun. And yes, maybe back on August 11th, they, the Abbott testing wasn't quite available yet, or they didn't know anything about it. And, I don't know what the machine or the lab testing that, Nebraska's going to have to be able to test potentially 2 teams and get results back extremely quickly. We had heard stuff about the University of Illinois working on using a saliva test, and I just, maybe they didn't think those things were quite available, and now they're seeing, we're in week 2 of college football and week 1 of NFL football, and you can use a ton of data from high school sports all across the nation that a lot of teams are playing. And a lot of kids are playing, and there's a lot of, you want to talk about not having resources to do certain things. High school level football, there's hardly any resources to be able to test and keep kids, safe and healthy. There's way more funding and resources to help keep players safe and healthy and away from the virus in college. So I think, they're listening, and that's a step in the right direction. I'm just really, really hesitant to say, yep, this thing's a go. I'm really hesitant to trust or to really listen to all, the sources and people on social media saying, yeah, I spoke to so-and-so, I spoke to this person, I spoke to this person, because I think everyone, presidents and chancellors have their outlets to throw some information out there. Kevin Warren has his people to throw some information out there. And obviously the coaches now and ADs have their people to throw out some information. I think you kind of digest some of those who's talking to who on social media. So, again, step in the right direction. But it's got to sway. What do they have to sway? Six total votes. What do you need?
They got to get. 9? They got to get to 9.
Right. So, I think who was I talking with to say who are the 6 other votes that you would really need? So obviously we know Ohio State, Nebraska,
and Iowa.
We're in there. So it's like That's the hard thing is you got 4 teams in 2 states. So that makes things a little tricky. But obviously, I think you can get Penn State. I think if you could sway Michigan, somehow I think Michigan's a major player. Because if you can get Michigan to vote, yes, then I think Michigan State would then say yes. I think you can get Illinois because they have the testing and they've been pretty, the football programs act like they wanted to play, and. So I think you can get to 9. I think you can find 9 votes, but again, just the way that things have gone back and forth, up and down. I think a lot of these presidents and chancellors, I think they can change their mind about every 4 to 5 hours, and that's what's so unpredictable right now. What we're dealing with.
Jay, I think you're right. You get Michigan to cave. You get Michigan State. I think you can get both Indianas. Don't know what the governor of Illinois will allow for Northwestern or Illinois, but I think you've probably had a flip for Penn State and Wisconsin, which is good. I think Rutgers president could be a big problem. The question I have, and we'll move on to some NFL in a sec, is, this was reported by Brett McMurphy that you need all 14 are wanting, or you're going to want all 14 to play. It's not going to be, all right, these 9 want to play, the other 5 opt out. I don't think you're going to be able to opt out. I would like to see the opt out or opt in option a reality. And if that was the case, then this thing could get knocked out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I did my pod with Rick Pizzo, obviously a popular guest of your show, and I brought up, you expect, asked them, at this time we thought football was going to be played in the Big Ten. I asked them, do you think Rutgers will play? Because obviously where they're at and just, close to, New York City and kind of a hot spot and, not allowing kids on campus. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, to my understanding is that if, they would vote, it's all for one. You can't. Yeah. There would be no opting out. They said they peeked into the bylaws or whatever it may be within the Big Ten. So I don't. At that time, he's like, everyone has to play. So, but this is a very strange time we're in. Where I think if there's any time to say, hey, if you don't want to play, then we'll give you this 1-year pass. I
Sure.
think people get so caught up in, well, if they don't play, they can't get their Big Ten money.
Pay them. Keep them happy. I don't care. Just get their vote.
Anymore. Like that's like, give them their freaking money. I don't care. Like, that's not going to change, Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, it's great to get your Big Ten money and all that stuff, but let's just get the teams that want to play and let them play. Let their cities, let their economy somehow benefit from everything. Don't get so hung up on, well, if they don't play, they're not going to get their money, their share of the revenue. I don't care. Like, we want to play here. There's many teams that want to play, and they should play. So hopefully they can get this figured out. Opt in, opt out, whatever. Play, don't play. Just somehow get football back sooner than later, and make a decision, and quit trying to delay it, and just make a decision so everyone can move on.
Jay Moore's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, some NFL thoughts. Got a couple minutes here. Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and Cincinnati, very Cincinnati of them to almost have a win, get a go-ahead touchdown called back, and then miss the field goal. But I know you saw a little bit, and you follow your roommate Zach Taylor. Cincinnati, what a showing! And the Chargers D is nothing to sneeze at, and Joe Burrow gave himself a D grade for his first game yesterday, but I'll take that D. I mean, I thought the future looks good in Cincy for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I tell you what, what's so impressive with Joe Burrow is, I mean, people have forgotten that they didn't play any preseason games.
No.
So this is, obviously they had some inter-squad scrimmages and stuff, but like, this is Joe's first real competition. And for him to have that poise, and I mean, we don't know what's called and what the right reads were within the offense and what the checks would have been, and making sure he gets the plays out right. So he obviously knows the intricate details of what is expected from him, so he can be a little hard on himself. But the fact that this kid in his very first NFL game had the poise and can lead him down the field into a game-winning field goal situation, I tell you what, that doesn't happen a whole lot. Obviously, the kick was missed, and they were able to capitalize. So he is. I mean, it's one game. He's going to grow. But I tell you what, things look bright. Obviously, it shows that Zach and the GM in Cincinnati made the right choice in taking him number one. But it's really impressive to see. And we knew he was already a very impressive and a very poised young man. But for him to have his first showing like that it's a very good sign for Bengals fans.
Jay, we'll hit some more NFL in the weeks to come, and hopefully we'll get some news here on the Big Ten. Thanks for jumping on today, man.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, Freddie.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Jay Moore. Let's dive into an update here with the Husker 8, the lawsuit, and a letter out on Twitter from attorney Mike Flood confirming that he received documents from the Big Ten regarding the lawsuit filed by the Husker players that he's representing. The players now are considering their next move as they look over what they were able to get in, and this is the statement here from Mike Flood today. The Big Ten Conference provided my office with documents responsive to plaintiffs' limited discovery requests. I want the opportunity to carefully examine the Big Ten Conference's response and discuss the same with our clients and co-counsel before I comment on what was disclosed by the defendant. So you're just going to kind of mull things over. What'd you get in the box? And how many trees gave their life for this discovery? So you had the double whammy here. You've got this lawsuit that's been existing, and there's been some limited discovery, but it got the ball rolling with the acknowledgement of 11-3. Yeah, the Attorney General do his thing on Friday with the nonprofit laws. And are you out of order, or are you in compliance with operating as a nonprofit in the state of Nebraska? So you're going to hang on to this thing and move forward if you need to move forward, or just say, hey, we're playing football, we're good. That's about all you can do. And it's all right to review. I'm just wondering the timeline with the Big Ten's chancellors and Council of Presidents here. How long are they needing to review the medical data and information, the schedule, and the TV side of things? And what type of convincing needs to go on? The longer this takes, I think it's okay. If it's just a quick vote where they swayed. You've had some reports on social media where, and again, it's an anonymous source saying, well, some of the presidents are ticked off how they're being portrayed in the media and it won't help the vote. You need to set aside your thin skin about getting blasted and vote what you feel and believe. Now, we kind of did a straw poll, and we asked Greg Smith to go down the Big Ten teams. Elijah, do you see it as 12-3 or 12-2? I don't think Rutgers will vote yes. I don't think you're going to get a vote from Maryland. I think Minnesota's really on the fence. I think Michigan's a problem.
Yeah, I see this more as 10-4, 9-5. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like...
Rutgers, Maryland, for me, are firmly in the I don't think they're being swayed over to the yes.
No, they're not going to play ball. They don't feel comfortable playing football.
Northwestern,
Well, when we talked to Barney, he is close with the guy who's in charge of, Morty is the guy's name, right? The school president for Northwestern. Morty's a big sports guy. So Morty's not going to stand in the way of Northwestern. It'd be more of hey, you're not playing high school football in the state of Illinois. And I'm trying to rack my brain what college program is playing football in the state of Illinois. All you have is the Bears right now playing football because you don't have high school ball playing. But if you're playing high school ball, you're supposed to start up your end of the week in Michigan. That Rust Belt, Midwest region, I don't know that. I mean, Illinois has been right there for you. I mean, they've been big time with the production of rapid tests, and it's been their research. Mm-hmm. So I think Lovey wants to ball. I know Coach Fitzgerald wants to ball. What do you get from the governor of Illinois? Would the governor allow it to happen? And I'm not trying to get super psychopolitical here. I'm asking that question out loud because that's been inferenced as well between Michigan's governor, Illinois' governor, Maryland's governor. I mean, are they doing this out of the name of health and safety, or are they doing this for political reasons? And that sucks that it's got to be that conversation.
Yeah. Speaking of political reasons, Michigan on the fence, which is scary to me because I do see Michigan and Michigan State as a package deal.
Yeah. If Big Brother goes, Little Brother's got to go.
And I don't think we're going to get a Michigan State yes vote if Michigan's voting no.
No, you won't. You absolutely won't. I do think Michigan, what type of heat can you put on their president? Because he's the medical dude. I mean, he's an epidemiologist. Epidemiologist. Say it with me again.
Epidemiologist.
I've said
you had it down last week.
No, I said it right yesterday, and I said it right this morning. I just can't.
In the heat of the moment.
I know. It's like I gotta write it in crayon out here.
Some people are built for the pressure moments and those clutch moments, those clutch times. Getting to the end of the show, we're in crunch time.
Most of the time, I'm okay. I pulled a Bengals kicker right now.
Yeah, blame the hamstring. Blame the hamstring.
I'm gonna crawl to the bathroom and weep. Let's talk Tampa for a moment here, and you look at all of the. Oh wow! Look at how underrated Levante David is. Spare me. He's been the best outside linebacker in football for a long time. You just got to see him on national TV for the first time in forever. Tom Brady, though, taking the blame, taking the bullets, taking the arrows. He was bad yesterday. Will it get better is the question.
Made some great plays. I mean, the receivers played their butts off. Tight ends played really hard. Backs ran hard. So, we're going to have to get back to work and tighten a lot of things up because obviously today wasn't good enough. But, I'm just thinking about what I got to do, and I got to do a better job than I did today.
Okay. Tom, Good on you. The interception, one of the two you threw, your receiver stopped. All right. Coach McBride made that abundantly clear.
I'm not still so sure that was all Mike Evans' fault. It would have been a bad throw from Brady.
This was number 80. This wasn't Evans.
Oh, you're talking O.J. Howard, that interception?
Yeah. And it wasn't Howard. There was another wide out that was in. I don't think it was Godwin. It might have been a 4-wide setup.
See, I thought the one from the slot receiver.
Yeah.
I thought that was Mike Evans.
Was that it? Well, I don't think it was Evans.
I could be wrong on that one.
You might be right. I'm just saying it didn't look like Evans to me that just stopped his route.
Mm-hmm.
It was someone else. So we'll research that and fact check it. But point is there was a zig and a zag going on. So that was not all on Brady. But he had time, but he didn't get much separation. I mean, New Orleans secondary did pretty well. And you really didn't have a run game you leaned on as much as you could have. More from Brady here. And again, he stepped up in his answer with what the defense provided, but the offense couldn't help out. Not complimentary football.
I think that, anytime you turn the ball over like we did, we had opportunities out there to make plays and it just came up short. So there's no excuses, and we're the only ones that could do something about it. The Saints kind of play how they always play. They did a good job on offense. We hung our defense out to dry, on some short fields with not moving the ball, not doing very well on third down at certain times. The turnovers really hurt us. And, got to clean that up for next week. We got to do a lot better job.
We'll wind down on Monday next.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, it's Hail Varsity presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Reminder about the Department of Highway Safety. There's over 1,500 crashes each year in Nebraska involving an impaired driver, drunk driving, buzzed, or high driving. Never acceptable. Law enforcement officers working every day to stop it. And before any more folks get killed or injured, if you're going to drive, don't drink. If you do drink, get that designated or sober driver or get a ride share. Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think. Brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety office. We are going to play How Much Will the Donkeys Lose or Win By with Elijah Herbal. Mr. Henry is ready to take about 45 handoffs and occasional play action. Kickoff at 9:10 Central. You'll hear that here on ESPN Lincoln and some of our affiliates around the state that have Westwood One coverage. Leading the way, Nick Gates snapping the football for them G-men. The Giants and Steelers get going in about 20 minutes. So what are you thinking here? We'll start off and make a prediction between Pittsburgh and the Giants. The line is -6. Pittsburgh. Give me the Steelers 24-13, the win and cover.
Yeah, I got the Steelers win and cover as well. I got something closer to 31-17, 31-21. It's tough to give an exact number because it's week one. I know I should.
I can't wait to see Ben back.
I think Big Ben's going to have a good game back. Connor should be back fully healthy with a bit of a better offensive line. And that Steelers defense, they take the ball away so well. If you missed out on the Steelers defense in your fantasy league and they're still available, pick them up. I doubt they are. They're the number 1 or 2 fantasy defense, but that defense is going to be good this year. They're going up against Daniel Jones in a new system now this year. Mm-hmm. Second year in the NFL, second year in a new system. So give me the Steelers in that one.
-3. Tennessee's a road favorite. Lock that offense. The Donkey D. No Vaughn. I'm sorry about that.
I swear, Vegas has got to be forgetting that the Broncos are playing at altitude here, and it's after a condensed, weird preseason with no games. I don't like the Titans' odds tonight, and I'm a Broncos fan. I know. I might be a little biased. But when you're playing at altitude, even against a defense without Von Miller, things are going to be tough. In week one, it's pretty warm in Denver today. Not unseasonably warm, but it's still a September football game at altitude. Titans are going to – it's a tough one. If they pull it out tonight, it's going to be a hard-fought win.
How much snow did Denver fans put in their freezers so they can show up to the game with snowballs?
None. There's no fans allowed in.
That's right. Okay, Chuck at the Tennessee bus as they drive by. I'm painting Buff fans and Denver fans together. Sorry. You know what? I think Tennessee gets it done because of their defense.
Their defense is
because of their run game. You tell me, how high are you on the donkey run defense?
Without Von Miller now, not as great, but we still added Jarrell Casey this year, so
I'm glad you're in the front office.
I think
corner office
got me on that one. Oh, my broadcasting professors would be unhappy with me. But
as you can pronounce names.
Derrick Henry has proven himself to be a late season warrior. He gets production mostly at the end of seasons. We'll see if he can get a week one good performance this year.
17-10. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I got something low like that as well. I got 21-17 Denver.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Tom Dienhart and Dr. Rob Zadiska, Mitch Sherman. Talk to you tomorrow.